Hello, everyone, and welcome. It is 4:30 p.m. Central Time. It is time for office hours here on the ViaMonstra Academy. That being said, welcome, everyone. Hey there, Andrew. How are things?
Well, as always, it's Wednesday. We're halfway through the week. It was 60 degrees this afternoon, Johan. How could I complain?
I'll take your word for it. I have practically not left this. Well, I went up for lunch, but I'm not outside, put it that way.
You got to run outside before it cools down again.
Yeah, I'll do my best.
All right, sounds good. How are you otherwise?
It's been a good day.
Good.
I'm happy. Got a lot of stuff done, and that's always nice.
Absolutely. Check a few things off your list, help you sleep better at night. It's all good.
Yeah, I was troubleshooting Pixie with a customer. I mean, what more can you ask for? It's like,
Almost like a mini Christmas.
yes. But all
Awesome.
right, what happened for the last 7 days?
Oh, well, we were chatting for a little bit here before we got started, and it sounds like it has been you haven't been the only one productive, let's say. The community's been very busy over the last week, it seems like. So if you want to share my screen, I've got a couple of things that I have come across.
Yeah, and by the way, I must mention officially your camera upgrade is shiny.
Thank you so much. I am. It's awesome. I love having this next to your nice camera now too.
So, which one did you get? I forgot. Was it Sony or
The Sony ZV-E10. So it's a vlogger camera, which they have a couple of, but this one specifically, you can actually change the lenses out, which I thought would be cool. The camera's mostly going to sit here, but if I wanted to come, take it out and actually take some nice photos, come take pictures of the horses,
There you go. Yeah.
then now I can do that. So added a little bit of flexibility and not too bad of a cost, I think, compared to what are considered some of the more, I don't know if professional is really the right word, but some of the other mirrorless Sonys can really get up there in cost.
Oh yeah, you can put in a good chunk of cash towards that. All right, I'll
Yeah.
go ahead and share your screen.
All right.
Well
Sounds
done.
good.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you. So what we've got here is I have been starting to play around with this Microsoft 365 documentation script or module rather that Thomas Kurth has put together, and I noticed yesterday maybe. Well, I guess if I look at the repo right here, 3 days ago, happened to see it yesterday. There were a couple of what I think are pretty major updates to this module that I'm really excited for to try out here shortly. So one, from a documentation standpoint, he added in security profiles and settings catalog profiles into the documentation. So if we're going to be using this module for Intune, for example, those are some important things that we're going to want documented. So that was a big improvement. But under the hood, changed from the PS Write Word to the PS Write Office module in order to output the report. And that's big because that is going to add PowerShell 7 compatibility, which is, the more and more things that we see add that type of compatibility, I think is all good all the way around. And not only that, but he was able to remove the dependency on the Azure AD PowerShell module as well, uh, which if you have been in this space for the last year and also potentially living under a rock or just very busy with your work, I hope by now you know that the Azure AD and Azure AD Preview and MS Online modules are being deprecated at the end of next month, March 30th. So anytime I see removed that dependency now in a module that I use and care about, very exciting.
I mean, even in some of the small sample scripts I've been using, it's actually been quite the work to rewrite those scripts to work with the new modules instead. And I know you've been busy with a lot of the scripts that we have up on the Academy and rewriting them so they will work. And it's not just a one-liner here and there. It's actually a good chunk of code. So in a solution like this, it's actually quite the effort to change it.
Absolutely. I mean, I even had one of those scripts that you talked about up on our repo that I was working on. That after a couple of hours of troubleshooting it, it turned out that one of the graph endpoints didn't even work the way that it was supposed to work. So um, always fun.
It's not a bug, it's a feature. Yeah, I hear you.
That's right. That's right. So great stuff here, Thomas. Keep up the good work. Love to see these documentation scripts. They're very helpful for us as admins for sure. Came across a blog post that I haven't been able to dive into just yet. It's a pretty fresh post here, but Microsoft, Dagmar over at Microsoft put together in a post called Protecting Tier Zero the Modern Way. Um, so this seems to go through some of the ways that today in 2024 we can actually protect and use this sort of tiered model. We want to be protecting our tier zero, which are things like domain controllers, for example, SCCM, config manager, site servers. Um, and I'm sure a whole host of other server types that I'm not thinking of right off the top of my head. But this looks like a fantastic deep dive into how we can still protect these assets today. And how we can configure this type of structure. It's a concept that's been around for some time, but of course, I think still very relevant. So I'm looking forward to getting into this as well and seeing what maybe we've missed or what we could be implementing in some of the other organizations that I'm involved with. So very cool stuff here. Um, Another blog post, and then I just have a couple of short things um, from our friend Kim. Took what has been a popular MMS session and transformed it into a blog version, and that's exploring the benefits of co-management and cloud attach with ConfigMgr. I'm sure if you have joined Johan and I once or twice, you know that we are big fans of not only Intune and Entra and but ConfigMgr as well. ConfigMgr still has a lot to offer, and that's some of the things that Kim talks about here in his blog post. So I absolutely recommend going through this as well. And I'm going to be, I started it. I plan on finishing this up this evening as well. Johan, I think that you would agree that there's still plenty of life in ConfigMgr.
Plenty of life still, and it's funny. I've had a discussion just recently with a company that they were like, Intune, that was the only way. That was where they're gonna go. They're gonna leave ConfigMan behind and Intune only. And then I realized, dang, there were actually a few things that ConfigMan were really good at. We're gonna keep it and do the rest in Intune. I'm like, all right, that's perfectly fine. And for others, it makes perfectly sense to leave it behind. One of those lovely depends. But
Absolutely.
it's gonna be there. It's gonna be there.
Yep, absolutely agreed. All right, a couple of other short updates and or friendly tips that I came across. One was, I don't know if this is going to show the entire thread because I'm not logged in here and Twitter has changed this view recently, but our friend Matthias Melkerson was posted about how sometimes he'll plug in a device and the OEM for that device will pop up basically an additional installer. Think of things like Will mentions here Razer devices or some Lenovo devices or Jabra audio devices. They'll pop up an additional software installer outside of the driver. And so Matthias was asking if there's a way to stop or prevent that. And Nathan McNulty, who he's had some fantastic stuff that we've shared on here before, pointed out another tweet from Will Dorman from back in 2021. There are some registry keys that you can set that will basically disable these co-installers, is what they're called. So I thought this was a fantastic tip, because even at home, even if you're not running on an enterprise device, man, that software can really be a pain.
It can be, definitely. Kylo here agrees. He's pointing out that registry key right now.
he always agrees. He knows. He knows.
Who knows? He's a good admin.
Yes, he is. Adam Fowler, who puts together the msportals.io website, I think we've referenced that here a couple of times as well, added a training and exam section on this site. So this contains all the Microsoft exams and general advice on how you might approach these exams and certifications. This is a fantastic resource. The way it initially started, and how we've likely mentioned it here on office hours, is the msportals.io homepage will provide you direct links to many of the admin centers and portals that you're going to be using in M365 and Intune and Azure. So this is just another great addition to a fantastic community site. Just love this. It's great. And last but not least, came across this post today. Why you should not upgrade to Microsoft Graph PowerShell SDK version 2.14. There was an issue both with 2.13.11 and then 2.14 that the output of some of the commandlets, as you can see here, was just, simply put, not right. I would not expect these response headers to come back with this output here. The good thing is, as I ran across this article and started reading it, because I just updated to 2.14 like yesterday or the day before, is that Microsoft released 2.14.1, which appears to have fixed the problem. So if you have already updated to 2.13.1 or 2.14, it sounds like you need to update again, and the issues should go away. And if we don't see any other issues, maybe sit on 2.14.1 for a little while, because this is, as discussed in this blog post, has happened a few times over the last six months or so. And I'll leave
Might
it
be
at
the
that.
same team that works with the ADK. You never know.
Might be. It might be. So I'll leave the Microsoft Graph topic there before I get too excited, Johan.
Yeah, but it is great to see these updates in general, and it's especially great to see PowerShell 7 support is increasing, because there are so many modules out there that simply won't work with it. And today, if there are fixes in PowerShell, they are fixed in PowerShell 7. They are not fixed in Windows PowerShell. And there are so many like small details sometimes that it's just so annoying that you know it's fixed in PowerShell 7, but the module you're working with does not support it. It's like, Anyhow,
Yep.
so I'm glad to see the change.
Definitely. I mean, there have been so many things. PowerShell 7 and the PowerShell SDK here have been out long enough that there are still so many times that we're saying you can do this in, here, but you have to do this over here, or you can complete this task in one, but you've got to go back to Windows PowerShell for this. So totally agree with you. Love to see these updates happening.
All right. I'm not in your, what do you say, division or league in terms of the number of views or news this week, but I did find a few that I wanted to share. not in your league, I think is the English word for it.
I just had a spare few minutes to troll the internet today. That's all.
Spare a few minutes, it says. All right. This is not the news. This is a PowerShell script, how to create a scope on a Pixie server. Very. Anyhow, this one I stumbled across from earlier today was a post from Rudy Ohms. Basically how the new Windows Labs works with the update that it can also create accounts, but what happens behind the scenes when there happen to be an existing account with the same name that you wanted to create. So that was an interesting read, and also interesting to see how the tactics that Rudy used to figure out what's going on, and basically throwing up a debugger and like, all right, this is what's going on, this is the function and whatnot. So that one I recommend to check out this blog post. Great information. The other thing I stumbled across was a blog from Oliver Kieselbach. And this one was related to Wi-Fi certificates, or how to create that using Intune. So highly recommend to check this one out as well. All very well written blog posts, and it's not like it's one page, it's a good chunk of information in these. So that's a good weekend read. I saw an update for IntuneCD, which is the only Python script I know that works with Intune, but apparently this is popular and being used, and I just got a new version released for it. So just wanted to get that one out. Then we have our friends not too far from here. Just a short 5.5 hour drive up in Minneapolis. We have the Twin City user group holding their February meeting tomorrow. So if you happen to be in that area, highly recommend to sign up for this event and join them tomorrow. Always good presentations. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, we had this was an interesting tweet that I stumbled across from Jose Gennardi, one of the MVPs. A quick little tip on how to download the new version of Teams. And this post itself triggered a few emails and some other Twitter threads around it. And one question that came up that I haven't figured out myself yet, but I figured maybe someone else know, is, okay, how would you launch this from a task sequence? So if anyone out there happened to figure out how to install the new MS Teams client from a ConfigMgr sequence, please reach out. I'll be happy to share that information, and I also want to know myself. All right. And then finally, from my part, our friends over at PatchMyPC, they just released their custom apps. They probably will yell at me for calling it an add-on, but it works with their product suite for third-party patch management. But obviously, since the name, or hence the name, it allows you to add any app in that one. But they have a webinar coming up shortly, so recommend to watch that one as well, or sign up for that one. And that was all I had in terms of updates.
Pretty great stuff, I must say.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's see what questions we have.
Yeah, so we've got a couple that have come in. Jesse, joining us over on YouTube, is saying, I would like to learn how to automate tasks in Intune, but I'm not quite sure where to start. Any help? Perhaps a mini class in the future?
That is not a bad idea at all. I mean, I would be thrilled, because we do have a course on the Academy running right now on how to use PowerShell to work with ConfigMgr and Intune. But as most of you know, on the Academy, about every month, we run free community courses. now in February we are, I guess it's next week. We're rerunning our Perfect Lab one, but I have a feeling that here in March, probably after the MVP summit, so end of March, MS Graph mini course. Would you like to join, Andrew?
I think that might be able to be arranged.
All right, then. We'll have that published then. Need to figure out an exact date and time, but all right. I mean, it's on the website right now, so.
Literally, there it is. I see it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what we can do there, Jesse. Great question. So, absolutely.
Yep.
I probably have to scribble down this on a piece of paper, also otherwise. Well, don't get old, Andrew. It messes with your memory.
I keep trying, and it just keeps happening every year.
It's every year. March mini course automation. Where to start? All right.
Sounds great.
Okay. What else?
All right. Matt is joining us over on YouTube asking. So I shared using Intune logs via log analytics. Can I show that again? And does it involve an extra license from Microsoft? I think log analytics. Unless
could it be advanced analytics? Or was it collecting log files?
Good question.
Because I showcased the analyzer or the parser, the PowerShell script to parse the IME agent log file, but I think this is maybe the advanced analytics feature. If it's that feature, yes, it has an extra license to it. Mm-hmm. It's part of the suite, but it can also be purchased separately. Was it $5?
That sounds right, but there's a quick way for me to figure that out.
All right. I will switch over to your screen when you give me the green light.
That sounds good. All right. Green light given.
All right. Let's see. Andrew's screen coming up. Here we are.
So here's our Intune pricing page. We have Intune Plan 1 is $8 on its own per month, $4 for Plan 2, and $10 for the entire Intune suite. That is an add-on, basically, to Plan 1. And if we scroll down, as Johan mentioned here, we have the Intune Advanced Analytics add-on at $5 per user.
Or included in the plan.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yep. Add-on or included in the suite. That is the suite column right here.
Yeah. And that one also gave you the device query stuff.
Yes.
That license. Yeah.
And then, of course, this is another one that we are looking forward to seeing soon. Cloud PKI.
Yep. Very much so. Very much so.
All right. But Matt, if there's something else, just go ahead and drop it in the chat and let us know. So Kurt is asking about Autopilot here on YouTube. Any scripts on how to automate the different Autopilot profiles?
Downloading them or assigning them during deployment? That is a good question.
Because downloading them, let's see if I can pick the right script here. I believe that's correct. Actually, didn't you write a blog post on this as well? Oh, it was...
Yes, I did. On how to download them, yes.
Yes. So we've got the script, and we've also got, let's see here. downloading the deployment profile. Well, isn't that cleverly named? That's exactly what we're looking for. All right. So here's the downloading them. We'll share these links anyways.
Okay, so that was a follow-up comment. It was about designing them.
Yep.
Basically, two ways of going that automatically. One is to do the pre-existing devices scenario if you actually deploy machines yourself, and simply have your deployment solution copying in the right JSON file, depending on the scenario that you want that particular device to be part of. But you can also have MS Graph or doing scripted assignments of devices in Intune. So if there is an Autopilot object in Intune imported, or you can use a PowerShell script to import it, that can be done in advance, but it can also be done during deployment. And that way you can assign it to any given group. So say that you have group 1 with profile 1 connected to it, and you have group 2 with profile 2 connected to it or assigned to it. Then you can script it automatically PowerShell, put that machine in the right spot. You can also work with dynamic groups, but that is more of when you just want to put machines in group that has like a specific correlation ID and Autopilot. I think for this scenario, the scripted approach is a better choice. What a great question.
Absolutely. All right. Amir is reporting back from last week. So Amir was talking a little bit about the Teams deployment that we had a bit of a conversation about that last week. So regarding including the new Teams and the Office offline ODT package during OSD. In Amir's experience, the latest ODT package, unfortunately, is still installing the classic Teams. So he's got an advisory case open with Microsoft. But for the time being, it seems like new Teams must be packaged separately. And Dan in the chat had a follow-up that at the EDU endpoint office hours with Microsoft, that they provided an update that the ODT had switched to the Teams app now being the new one. So maybe there's a little bit of lag happening there still. And hopefully, Amir, that advisory case will actually have that same information.
I'm looking for an update of the deployment tool, but I don't see one. The latest one is still from January. So it could very well be that they're about to release one, that's what they announced. Possibly.
Yeah, and it does look like if you're on the ODT download page, there is a link to the release history. And it does not look like that is referenced in the latest version that's currently available.
Yeah, I was just checking the download site too, and that's the same version as you have listed there, the same date. So
Yep.
Maybe it's upcoming, one can hope. But
Yeah.
if anyone happen to have other information about the new Teams, what we want to know is how to, one, package it together with our Office installation, and also be able to deploy it separately through Teams. There was a question about that coming in through emails and Twitter threads earlier.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right. Got a question over here on YouTube. What is the purpose of the default site boundary group? What are the use cases for that?
It's more to be of a fallback in ConfigMgr environments. Basically, you messed up your boundary groups, but you still want things to be able to fall back to something. That's kind of the purpose of the default boundary group. I would rather prefer that to be a purpose, how to say it, a deliberate choice. So let me, I'm stealing the screen. Here we go. So if I have a config manager environment where I have a few different distribution points, 3 in this case. And I have a few different networks that are defined in my environment. So I have different boundaries and different boundary groups. Say that I have clients in one of my Chicago locations, and these clients are supposed to be using these two system resources, meaning my management point here in red and my distribution point number 2 in green. That's the only system they should be using. If that DP is down, I can definitely go over to relationships here and say that should that happen, you'll be allowed to fall back to this boundary group or the first one, or maybe this one. And I can specify the fallback time in minutes. So it's there to provide some failsafe, but I would prefer having a controlled failsafe. I can give you an example. If you have a network like this, imagine that you have a distribution point down here as well, just for sake of argument. So this is also a DP. If this one goes down for whatever reason, I would like the clients to fall back to this one. I do not want clients to fall back to this one because network-wise, that would be a poor choice. So that's why we have these fallback options. But I don't use the default much. I rather set up my little own hierarchy. It's not really a hierarchy, but flow. Call it what you want there. But yeah, that's my take on it.
All right. Russell is saying, can never see the links that we say are added to the chat in these sessions, either live or their later recorded sessions. Any advice on where our viewers can find these links?
Yeah. Let's see here. They are supposed to be uploaded here, but one of our team members, because we send them over after each office hours every night, so they usually are up either late that evening or the day after. But if I go to, say, the one we did,
other channel.
Yeah, the channel.
That was my way of whispering publicly.
Whispering. You need to work on that. And I can apparently find my own stuff. This is great here. Did we put the Academy in the name? Yes, we did put the Academy in the name. So if I go to the live video, so this is from last week. If you go to that one and click more, here are all the links that we are sharing. And we try to do that for every single session. And if one that is missing links, let us know, and there will be some. We'll fix it. Mm-hmm. But they should be here. If not the same night as the live event, at least the following morning.
Yep. So. All right. Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Matt's asking, have we deployed the company portal via Intune?
Well, yes. Many times. Would you like to show something there, Andrew?
Sure. I've got my very simple deployment.
Right.
You can pull
up. No, yep.
There we go. So Microsoft Store app. Sorry, let me start over. Intune Admin Center, apps, Windows, and I have this one right here. This is the one that's actually assigned. It is the new Microsoft Store app. So if we click on this and check our properties, simply pulling this down from the new Microsoft Store integration, and then assigning this. In this case, I have it assigned to all devices in my lab. simply because there's plenty of times that I don't want to forget to install it and want it to come down quickly. We did talk a little bit last week about our friend Jurgen did a blog post on shared devices where you might have some scenarios where you do not want the company portal to come down. But for the most part, this is really all you have to do. Create the new Windows Store app and assign it to a group of devices, or in my case, all devices. And you can filter out from there too, of course. And this seems to be working pretty well in my experience. Same with you, Johan?
Absolutely, yes. And I mean, this is one of the apps that, I mean, we normally don't recommend to deploy apps to like all and everything, but
Yeah.
this one I say is a good exception to that rule.
Matt had a follow up. He meant company portal via ConfigMgr. And I would say, from my perspective, no. And I would, that would probably be a situation where, I don't know if this is the same scenario that you're in, Matt, but I would be looking more into, if I wanted the company portal out there, moving the applications workload in co-management over to Pilot Intune at least, and just delivering the company portal that way. I don't know if you have anything to add there, Johan, but
No, I'm with you on that one.
all right. Might be able to do it through winget command line too, but I have not done that myself. I would
I
go the
saw
command.
a tweet from Panu. He was able to, one of the MVPs, he was able to do it in the sequence using that one. What I don't like, it, we mentioned that a few times about the winget, is that they currently do not support peering of content. So I'd rather have a Win32 app that does support peering. Now, company portal is not, it's not like Power BI or a game. It's not very big, but still.
Yep,
Content.
definitely. All right. So Matt had a follow up about the logging. I shared the log from my dev tenant. So I do wonder if this happened to be. I can go through this briefly. So it looks like we're actually getting a lot of chatter today, which
Nice.
is awesome. Love to see that activity. So, Matt, if this is in reference to like the audit logs and things like that using log analytics, what I have here in the tenant administration node, if I go over to my diagnostic settings, you can see that I have a set of logs from Intune going over to a log analytics workspace. And if I click edit setting here, you can see that that is any audit logs, operational logs, or some device compliant and device logs from Intune that are being shipped off to log analytics. And the log analytics workspace will have an additional cost depending how much data you're ingesting and how long you are keeping that data. Um, uh, it could be a fairly nominal fee. I mean, I hang on to my data here in my lab for about 90 days. The lab's not super busy, so it's useful to have that data for a little while if I want to show some example queries or something like that. And it's a couple of dollars a month to hang on to that. If you're in a production environment where you have tens of thousands of devices and or accounts that are logging in, and you're sending over entra logs and that sort of thing, the cost can increase. I've seen some that are in the hundreds of dollars for this type of logging and hanging on to that data, but again, it all depends on how busy your tenant is. All that said, I've been a very big fan of this function, having these logs shipped over to Log Analytics, a place where I can use my knowledge in KQL queries and have a consistent um, workspace or a consistent experience to gather and look at data has gone a long way for me. So I hope that answers your question, Matt.
It's funny because there is an urban legend floating around in the Intune community that someone at some point decided to basically ship up SQL logs to log analytics and managed to get up a good few $1,000s on that bill because of it. Now, I have never seen even something remotely like that. I've seen a few $100 being used a month, but I guess, yeah, if you pump every data you can find to it, then the cost will increase. But heck, don't do that.
No, definitely take a subset of data. If you want to start looking into log analytics, take a subset of data, put it in there, keep it for 30 days at first, and see. There's some very good cost analysis tools in Azure that will help you kind of determine what that will look like if you hold on to the data longer or add additional data as well.
Yeah.
And don't ship your SQL transaction logs to log analytics either.
I'm not sure if it was transaction logs or it was just logs in general, but either way.
Yeah, definitely.
Keep an eye on that.
All right. So we've got a question here. We have an internal PKI infrastructure, an NPS server for internal Wi-Fi. What's the best method to get Entra joined only Autopilot devices connected to the internal Wi-Fi with this use case?
I mean, there are plenty of options, and we just shared the blog post from Oliver on how to deal with certificates for Wi-Fi profiles. But there have always been the connector that have been available in Intune for certificates, and was a time there were multiple connectors also. But I'm quite interested to see what the new Cloud PKI platform brings with it. I know a lot of companies, they're using basically the on-premises radio servers for their Wi-Fi access, and there are cloud versions of them available that you can purchase. I think Oliver's company have one of them, but there are others. I just haven't worked with anyone myself, so I do not know. What I do know is that Richard Hicks will be joining us in May, I think. Can you bring up the Academy site? I forgot.
I sure can.
Yeah, if you go to masterclasses, and like in the middle, you recognize Richard there.
There we go.
He's doing a 3-day training on certificates with Intune based on this very, very fresh platform together with some of the existing stuff. So maybe that one.
I think we may have to join that one.
Well, I'm going to be in the heckler's row on that one for sure. But yeah, so maybe that.
All right.
Maybe that. Shameless plug.
All right. Matt is asking, can you please reshare? This is for you, Johan. Can you please reshare the link for your testing drivers and BIOS, etc., via Intune? And have you used the MS Endpoint Manager tools to download and deploy drivers via Intune?
Let me see what that one was. Don't remember sharing a link for testing drivers and BIOS. I did have a blog post on creating them, and we have shared one from Sasan as well. That he did a blog post for Jürgen's blog.
You're referencing this blog post right here, the total control for drivers and firmware?
Could be that one, because that's just the manual way. Oh, manual with a bit of PowerShell, so half automated then. to create the various policies and assignments. And then Sason took that one step further and automatically organized machines in the right groups and whatnot. So that was pretty creative. But that link we can absolutely share. In terms of the Intune space, there are no real ready-made community solutions to deal with drivers outside of the stuff that Microsoft has built in. But absolutely, yes, you can have a Win32 app, downloading a Wim file and extract it. And then you can instruct your feature update, for example, to go ahead and pick up those drivers, or you can have it run a script that does the equivalent of what Maurice's script do, basically calling PnP util and just update all of those drivers. It's just an app at that point. You can deploy an app to a filter of a specific model, or you have machines of a specific model. So it's doable. I just haven't seen any community solution for it, because the modern driver management stack is this was written for ConfigMgr primarily. There's some Intune integration with it, but since Microsoft offers it now built in, and they're improving on it, I think that will be the focus going on. It is doable. It's absolutely doable. I don't know any good samples for it.
All right. So let's see here. Kurt was just saying thank you for the script to add devices to VMware VDI group or physical device. Dynamic groups with the autopilot profile assigned. So there's a script to make it happen faster. Do we have a script to make that happen faster and add to the dynamic VDI group? I think I've got that.
I do think we published some of those scripts up on our repo. Let me see if I can find it. If not, we can probably make it available. No, it is not up there. Unless in the Cloud 4 folder. Let's see. Yeah, that might be a good starting point. Yeah, if you go to the github.com/deployment, that one, yeah. And go to the Cloud Imaging 4 folder. The top script there, if you open that one, I like to say that one had an add to group something, unless we use the group tag.
Here's a reference to the group tag.
So we hard code a device with the group tag and we import it, and we specify the group as the group tag, and then it will be added to that one. But you can also do a static membership for PowerShell. That works as well. Add a machine to a group. I don't think I posted an example of that, but I mean, there are plenty of examples on how to do that.
All right. Did you have anything else that you wanted to pull up on that, or?
No, I was just looking for some good examples, but nope.
Okay. Some great continuing conversation here on Office deployment, some recommendations about making sure you've got the latest setup.exe, and things like that when you are deploying Office. So just wanted to call out. We always love when we see so much action in the chat, especially between viewers. It's fantastic. It's exciting. And a great tip. Absolutely. If you're deploying Office, makes sense to keep the latest setup file before you deploy it. So Dan was asking here, was testing out OSD Builder and trying to just swap out an updated install.wim and it fails. Looks like you need to do a new MDT OS import task, then update all of the sequence. Is there a way around that?
If it's MDT Light Touch, it's probably because those file names are case sensitive. I've bit my so many times replacing a file and it just doesn't work, and there is an uppercase A that is supposed to be a lowercase or something like that. So the only reference to that file is an XML file. And as long as there is a match, it will work, but it is case sensitive. If it's a ConfigMgr deployment, yeah, you have to update the DP after replacing the file. But MDT, you do not have to do that.
All right. So another question here on YouTube. We have EHTTPS, so this is config manager related. We have EHTTPS. We've removed our network access account from imaging, and it works on devices imaging from our primary, but not our secondary management points. Any thoughts on that?
No. I mean, I work with a good chunk of customers who are not using network access account, that they have multiple MPs. If you by secondary management point mean a secondary site, my word would be don't use secondary sites. I have no idea if that comes in play or not. We rarely see secondary sites anymore. And if you have one, you should probably get rid of it. That I do not know. But it works with multiple management points. It could be there are some scripts referencing that account. I know some customers, they have still MDT integration with their sequences, and in some of the MDT scripts, there are actually hard-coded logic that will look for the existence of a network access account and try to use it, and if it doesn't exist, it fails. But other than that, I haven't seen an issue not having it, because Microsoft removed the need for it back in 2018. That was a while ago. If it had been a widespread problem, we would have known about it by now, I think.
All right. Let's see. Just a follow-up comment here that just came in. We reinstalled a secondary management point and it still won't pixie boot off of them. Security team won't let us use a network access account anymore. Yeah. Makes sense.
For good reasons. So by all means. But that can be figured out. That's something else.
Yeah. All right. Do you know of a secure way to do a connection to an SMB share in WinPE so as not to use the network access account? Command line and PowerShell steps don't support using a dedicated account.
Yes, they do. I do it all the time. I can show an example. Where is my screen? Here.
There it is.
Because I got tired. One of the packages they were using with tools, I got tired of updating it all the time, so I simply had the sequence copied down all the time instead. Let's see here. Well, it would help if I would actually go to the right site server. Try again, and we try it slowly. Yeah, here is connect to a folder using a specific account. That is definitely not the network access account. I don't have one. And then once I have that folder established or that drive letter mapped, in this case, I'm copying some files that I'm using frequently. So that works. It's been supported for a long time.
All right.
And then the only thing that account needs is basically read to whatever share it's getting content from. I have seen companies getting creative also. If there are just files that need to be downloaded that really doesn't need any authentication or authentication, they just put up a virtual directory for their IS, and they use PowerShell and bits transfer to just download the file anonymously from that link, because it's a file that is okay. If someone accidentally downloads it, it's okay anyway. So multiple options there.
Sure. All right. Coming up on time here, so let's see if we can't get through these next couple. Kurt's asking, are you familiar with the new WinGet client from GitHub needed for Windows 10 to work with the new store before company portal can be downloaded and installed? Any documentation or blogs that we can share about it? Not sure why it wasn't automatically updated with the feature update.
No, Ben Whitmore did a fantastic post on that. I think we shared it in some of the other earlier office hours, but we can definitely get that link posted because we shared it in one of the earlier. The problem is basically if it's installed as a user and you want to install it as a system, you have a problem. You need to get some creative PowerShell into the mix. They did not do that transfer well, to put it mildly.
Yep. All right. Matt is asking for Autopilot. What's the difference between an old query and a new query by changing the -contain ZTDID to -start with?
So both are still supported. It's just that there is a recommendation from Microsoft for performance reasons to try to not use contain if you can get away with the start with. I also saw some comment from Niehaus regarding some of these variables, the way they were constructed didn't support contain, but I haven't tested that one specifically. But I mean, if it requires to use contain, use contain. It's just that if you can get away doing it with start with, it's a more optimized query, and Intune is happier and Microsoft is happier.
Yeah, I mean, contain can be so much heavier considering, it's looking at both sides of that string.
Yeah, same thing with ConfigMgr. Don't have % signs on both sides of a
Yeah.
query if you can't get away with it.
Yeah, I think in general it seems, and any query language really, if you can get away with not using too many wildcards and contains or usually the recommendation.
Yeah.
All right. And then last but not least here, Kurt's asking, during Autopilot, they block USB. How can we access the script from Intune if possible?
Like copying it out, or because you can definitely have an app run a script. A Win32 app can run a script, and a Win32 app will happily run in Autopilot during the enrollment. That's how people get around things like setting time zones and doing patches and other things that are not supported. They found creative ways to do it through scripts. Dang, good questions today.
Yeah,
Ha!
absolutely fantastic stuff.
All right. Everyone, thank you so much for joining. Andrew, thank you as well. And have a great rest of your week, everyone. Bye for now.
Thanks, sir. Have a great one, everybody.